Test, 1, 2, test. If anyone's in the building, if the audio is good, just hit a 1 if you're in a chat. Just like old times, it's been a while. And apologies for this avatar. This is just me just getting back into the groove because I want to be doing consistent streams on particular issues that I think is still quite underserved online. Senate of Truth in the building, salute, good to see you. You say 1 sound is good, I appreciate that. And we also see KB the Millennial, the usual suspects, good to see you, bro, in the building. I know it's late, later than when most wanted, right, by a poll that I did a few weeks ago, but I just want to get into the groove of things, and this is just the way to do it, right? This subject is one of those topics that I believe pique as annoyance, right? So when you discuss issues in relation to or critiquing Black parents and the Black family, you get side-eyed because it's so easy to label you as a self-hater. Oh, your mother's Black, you must hate yourself, you're a coon, you have no self-respect because you are willing to talk down, quote unquote, on your own folks, on your own people. And you know what? All of that are fair disagreements, right? They are fair points, if I'm just being real, okay? But I'll say this, when I bring up these type of subjects, right, it's always in the best interest of the people that I'm talking about. You know, there is no agenda. And I often ask myself, why am I drawn to creating content around certain things that I know will just be usually met with a lot of scrutiny, right? And I'm ready for the scrutiny, but sometimes there are just things that you can't hold back. And as living beings, we don't have we don't have infinite years to just not talk about real stuff. You know, and enter this topic, enter this subject. So a lot of you, some of my subs are American, right? So you might not know who the figure is on my thumbnail. That is a boy, or was a boy, called Damilola Taylor. On the 27th of November, year 2000, a 10-year-old Nigerian schoolchild, Damilola Taylor, was killed in London in what became one of the United Kingdom's most high-profile killings. Okay. Damilola Olufemi Taylor was born in Lagos, Nigeria on 7th of December 1989, and he was of the Yoruba ethnic group. He attended Wisdom Montessori School in Lagos before he traveled to the United Kingdom in August 2000 with his family to seek treatment for his sister's epilepsy. Okay, that in itself is sad. I didn't even know that Damilola Taylor just came to the UK in August and he died in November. That in itself is sad. And the reason why this topic came to my mind, even though it's like 24, 25 years ago, is because there was a few YouTube channels commemorating the incident. A few famous people, a few famous celebrities spoke about the issue and how it affected them. And it just made me recall this incident, you know. It made me remember this problem. And like I posted a few weeks or days ago in my community tab, I often leave some remarks in my community tab. And one thing that's been left out of this equation, because when this hit the news, and understand I am from this area, and I know exactly what this area was like, you know, 25 years ago or so. I am a product of that environment. Okay. But one thing that I established, or a few things that I understood about the situation, was that one, Damilola was currently in a quote unquote single parent household, only having his mother in this country with him. And two, he was a 10-year-old walking in a so-called bad area, in a so-called hood, in the dark, from an after-school activity. And over the past few years, if you've been subscribed to the channel, you might have seen a growing discontentment with issues in the so-called Black communities, Black British community, African diaspora, whatever you want to call it. And I think now I've been a parent. I've become a parent for almost a year now. And so for me, it hits even harder thinking about the way I treat my child and seeing how people in the previous generations treated us or their children, right? So the parallels need to be drawn. And again, for me, it's not about creating shock content or anything like that. It's about learning from past mistakes. Because at the end of the day, this all affects us. And this is why I'm always drawn to making content, and I'm going to be making more content just like the old days around these issues, but also on issues that I feel are important, revolving around self-refinement, which is self-improvement. And again, forgive the avatar because I just need to get back into the groove of things. But setting the pace, man. KB the Millennial has super chatted with a $4.99 super chat. He says, "Who's that, Falcon?" Yeah, man. Hey, KB, I really appreciate that. I still need to work my StreamYard. I haven't used it for a while. Where am I? Where is my super chat? Yeah, it's been a while, but KB, man, I really appreciate your support as always. KB, go and check out KB's channel as well. Familiar brother in these spaces, talking about real stuff as well. Salute to KB Jones in the building. Salute to everyone else that I see in the building. Good to see you. I know it's late. I won't keep you. This probably be a short and sweet live, but I just need to get this off my chest. I'm fed up of writing community posts. So yeah, when Damilola died, especially now, I've just had more scrutiny towards how he was being raised by his parents, right? I'm not going to go into the backstory and stuff like that because we all know the story, the unfortunate story, right? And this is also a live stream that wants to show respect to his parents and to his loved ones as well. This is not meant as disrespect, but again, this is, in my opinion, a teachable moment. And that's what I'm trying to find from this incident. Okay. So when Damilola Taylor died those years ago, everyone was pointing fingers. Oh, okay, the Black community. Okay, Peckham, where this incident happened. Oh, bad community, bad area. And maybe even the UK in general. Oh, it's a racist country. They don't care when Black people kill each other. They weren't interested in finding the culprit. And I think people were drawing parallels with Stephen Lawrence's case, which I believe was in the early 90s, 93, I think. Loads of scrutiny towards the establishment and to Britain in general. But again, let me recite my points. Damilola Taylor, for whatever reason, he came to the UK with his mother and his sister, as was said in my monologue a few minutes ago. Right, she had epilepsy, so they came over, but the father and I think another sibling stayed in Nigeria. And this is something that's quite common. Family gets split up. I don't know, people are working on their papers to get in, and it ends up splitting the family. One family are here and the other are back there. right? Another situation is that, again, he was a 10-year-old walking in the night. So again, he died in November. So at that time here in the UK, it's going to be dark. Okay, this was around 4 o'clock after school in the evening. It's going to be dark. So my questions also automatically point out to why did these things happen? Why is a 10-year-old walking in the dark? Why is his father not there in his home, in his life? You know, so that's what I want to talk about briefly in this live stream. Okay, I won't keep it too long. I see Age of Machines again with the $5 super chat, man. I really appreciate you coming through. The old school subscribers are showing up tonight, man. I really appreciate that. Age of Machines, the old school subscriber from back in the day, says, interesting seeing how common this issue is stateside and across the pond. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Super chat. I need to update all my assets, man, because these are all old. I've been paying for this stuff, but luckily everything's all kept there. But Age of Machines, I appreciate you showing up, man. I appreciate everyone in the building. Appreciate the support as well. And before I get into it, I want to just give you a few updates. Again, I want to do some consistent streams. So in the banner below, you can see I'm aiming for Sundays around this time to do streams on issues that involve this demographic, right? Everyone's invited, of course, right? But I want to keep it going because, again, I feel it's an underserved area. Obviously, it's not advertiser friendly. It's not really YouTube friendly in general. So I understand why people don't want to talk about it. I don't really need to do YouTube, you know, but I think it's important to discuss important issues that aren't really being discussed. But essentially, for those who might be new, my channel is essentially always about betterment, self-improvement, which I call self-refinement. You might see my earlier video talking about vegetarianism. You know, I'm on about things that help and improve people. You know, whether that's the diet, whether that's physical, mental, spiritual. That's what my channel and that's what my goal has always been about when I've been on YouTube. But I figure out that I'm really passionate about issues pertaining to the African diaspora, you know. And again, not many people talk about it for various reasons, but also I think whenever you're critiquing this demographic, it's so easy to be labeled, again, a self-hater, a coon, you know, you have issues, you don't like yourself. And so this is a big deterrent to a lot of people from talking about this. Right? But what ends up happening is that we just don't have the avenues to discuss certain things, certain topics that pertain particularly to us, you know. And I think that's a big disservice. Everyone's talking about dating. What's people reviewing now? Pop the balloon. This is what Black people are discussing on the internet now. Dating and pop the balloon. It's crazy, to be honest. You know, there are bigger issues before dating. I understand you need to get your stuff off, but I mean, priorities, man. But yeah, that I'm hoping to do more streams consistently going forward, just so just so you know. Okay. But back to the topic. I want to again talk about, well, in this stream, I'm going to talk about a few things. Okay. And it's in relation to parenting, mental health, stuff like that. But firstly, I want to, if I can, I want to ask you guys a question in the building. Let me just share my screen quickly. Let's see. Okay, good. It's up here. For those of you who might be foreign, this is a map of Peckham. This is southeast London. This is my hometown. Okay, notable areas of my hometown is this big park, Burgess Park. Very familiar with this park. Lots of things went down over here. Used to play football over here. Going into Woolworth, there was a good market here called East Street Market. Okay, I'm very familiar with this area. This is where I was born and raised, essentially. Yeah, I want to ask you guys a question. Here is the Peckham Library. Okay, very famous building in Peckham. Damilola Taylor, who was 10 at the time, and this was in November. I think it was around 4 o'clock. It was an after-school activity, and there's various CCTV footage to confirm this. He was walking here in the dark, and he had to walk from here to about over, well, you can see his center over here. That's the Damilola Center. Over to about here. So from here, he has to go through all these estates to about here. And keep in mind, back then, this was a notorious, and it still is now to some degree, a notorious area of London. Probably the most notorious quote unquote hood in the UK at the time. Now it's very much gentrified and newcomers coming in, settling, pushing people out and stuff. But can we do a scale? Let me see. I haven't used Google Maps in the time. Measure distance all the way up to here. Distance to here. So what? 600 meters. If you had a 10-year-old child? This is what I'm asking you. And it's dark, and you live in the hood. Would you let him walk this distance by himself after school club? Meaning, it's not the normal school run. All the kids that finish school at 3:30 are probably at home by now, right? So it's only going to be a select few people coming out at that time. Would you let your kid walk in the dark as a 10-year-old this distance? In my opinion, if you asked me, I would say no. I would say hell no. Peckham back in the day, Peckham back in the day was like, even here, for example, this strip of park back in the day was a scary place. I literally remember having nightmares around that age. It was a scary place. This little strip of grass over here. And with me, I was back in the day, I was usually out alone as well, because I used to play football in the area, hanging out with my friends in the area and stuff like that, walking all around the town. Eddie Wananda in the building. Good to see you in my lives, man. Good to see you in the building. Check out Eddie's channel. I'm sure most of you have. He says not on their own, definitely not. Peace, Falcon, by the way. Peace to you, bro. Yeah, I agree. Definitely not on their own. Dark, Peckham, 2000. So again, this stream is with respect to the parents, and actually, I just realized that the father died last year, and I didn't even know this. So double respect, and it's sad as well that the situation is generally a sad topic, obviously, but this is one question that needs to be raised. Why are kids walking by themselves in the dark after school hours? in a bad place, bad area, right? And the other question I need to ask is, again, although this is not your typical single mother situation, his father wasn't there. His father wasn't living with him. You have to understand the situation and why it kind of hits home for me as well. Look, you are new to the UK and you're settling in a bad area straight off the bat, right? There was a great old school YouTuber back in the day that made this video called No Father, No Defense. And I agree with that because there's only so much, especially if this is probably most likely going to be a working mother. How much time and attention can she give to her kids? And this is the general situation where, yeah, these single parents, they're gonna have to neglect the kids. How can they walk their kids from school at 3:30 when they're working a 9 to 5? Back in the day, I just remember a lot of childminders were around in the area, which was good. There was a close-knit community. But generally speaking, and this is probably why the boy Damilola had to go to after school club, probably because no one was home. And that was a common situation for a lot of us kids back then. No one was home, so we're hanging out outside or we're just going back to the streets. And when there's no father, I think, in my humble opinion, some of you might disagree, some women might disagree, but I think a man is more so um, aware of the dangers in the world, or is more so keen to the dangers in the world than the the typical woman, right? Who's often very much protected. I think a lot of these single parent households is gonna eventually there's gonna be some sort of grooming, right? Again, with the neglect, you're not gonna know who's talking with your kids, who's dealing with your kids. I thought, actually, yeah, I was about to say something, but no, no, no. You know, and talking about dating online. We see a lot of black men online now. From what I can see, predominantly talk about dating, and simultaneously that seems like we're also having issues with the opposite sex, right? And I would flip a coin and bet that the people that often have issues with the opposite sex grew up in a single parent household, and that applies to both men and women. So that could be another factor when there's no father around. You're just gonna not you're gonna well, for the boys, you're not going to be taught directly how to be a man and what you might need to do, what your traditional responsibilities might be. And for a woman, you don't have that primary man in your life that gives you love, that is that is not conditional. It's not based on how big your ass is or how seductive you look tonight. You know, and I also this is probably one of the biggest reasons why I used to always talk about self improvement. It's the lethargy and depressive dispositions that I've seen a lot of black men, whether they're young or middle aged to some degree. There's this malaise and this defeatist mentality that I think, look, it comes when the father's not there. It's most likely going to happen. When there's no purpose, when there's no drive, most likely not gonna you're most likely gonna have some sort of lethargy. Most likely not gonna feel like you have guidance, like you know where you're going in life. You know, the reason why I'm not like I can say all this is because for some few years I was being raised in a single parent household for some years. You know, so I kind of can see the effects it has. Many of my friends in the area, again talking about Peckham, were raised in this way. You know, and that lethargy, depression, that malaise, that self defeat, that is probably the biggest mental ailment that a man can have in this world, because there comes a point where no one has your back, no one's going to come and help you up, no one has anything coming for you. You need to make it you need to make something of this life yourself. And you know, in the mainstream this is not often discussed. I remember seeing a stat somewhere that, and I you know, I kind of query these stats because it's hard to gather the data, but most dropouts in college or university, often they came from single parent families, especially the young men. And it kind of makes sense to me. It's like, especially, let's talk about the typical African parents who might be, you know, might have emigrated to the West, might not have ever been to university, right? But yet will tell their kids, oh, you better become a doctor, you better become an architect, you better become an engineer. But what experience do they have that they can actually give you for you to actually know and be driven and to know exactly what to do? All they're giving you is pressure, right? You better be good at school, be a doctor. Okay, but how? W- give me the tools to being a doctor. They can't because they haven't experienced it. You know. Let's see what the chat's saying. Rockstar Joe, good to see you in the building. Checking in. Age of Machine says good insight, absence of father leading to dating issues. Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. I totally agree. Um, and to be honest, I think it's more damaging on the women's side from what I've seen because of the requirement of a traditional femininity. A lot of women that don't grow up with their fathers just become very harsh, very stern, unemotional. Often, many of these are the boss bees that are very much uh, career focused, material focused. They are, you know, they think a big car is is like a proof of success. You know, a woman without family, without kids, without husband thinks that their Range Rover is a showcase of their success. And for me, it's not. It's failure. If you fail in if you're, let me just be frank. If you're relatively attractive and your mental disposition is what's the term that people use? Neurotypical, right? Don't have any uh, quote unquote abnormalities in the mind. You're fairly functional. You understand the society that you're in. If you when you come to a certain point and you just kind of fail the mating game, it, I'm sorry, but a lot of people see that as failure. You know, especially if you're very attractive and you just haven't, for some reason or another. It's one thing if you don't want it, but many people, in my opinion, want a family. But you come to some point in life, you reach your 40s, and all you have to show for it is a house and a car. That's failure, in my opinion. That means something was lacking, you know. And this is the point of this stream. Like the failings of parents will just have a domino effect onto their kids. And this is why it needs to be dissected, because for years now, when there is all these black kids stabbing people here, killing people, it's always been the system, quote unquote, has always been blamed. The system. Oh, the UK is institutionally racist. But okay, I mean, it makes sense because the UK was like a brutal empire back in the day. It makes sense, right? These were one of the top slave traders in the world. It makes sense that there is a legacy of racism. But at the end of the day, you chose to come here and make a family here. So when is it? When is some of the accountability goes back to the parents and the family and the way people are raised? You know, and that's my angle, because especially as someone of Nigerian descent, it is very much taboo to talk ill of your parents, of the family, the culture. But in my opinion, again, just being honest, it's the man's responsibility to be able to critique a system that isn't working. It is, it really is. And this is why I can't be shamed. And I think men who succumb to shame are cowards and are part of the problem. Failed culture. Damn, I hate being. Look, this is why. I don't know. I always second guess, because a lot of people be offended when I just be harsh in the truth. But I can't do it no other way, man. We have to keep it 100. And so I've been, especially as a parent, seeing the failings of our predecessors. It's eye opening, because we want to talk about. It's like when we try to discuss all the ills of the so-called community, the killers, the killing, the music, the fact that our kids aspire to just become an athlete or just become a musician, an entertainer. It's like, again, we blame everything else, but we accept our parents and the family. There is, yeah, look, I don't want to be too real tonight. I don't want to hurt any feelings, but no father, no defense. I truly agree with that. And again, it sucks to kind of have to bring this up when people have died, but this is what I see in this incident. And when people didn't ever even try to critique the family, it also raised eyebrows. You can only blame the system for so long. And now it's like when you look at the world today, the world is becoming much more conservative. And damn, my cat's crying. I might have to get up and spank it in a sec. I'm joking. I don't beat pets, man. I'm joking. But the world is starting to lose patience for these excuses, man. The world is not gonna buy, oh, it's because of it's not buying that anymore. Look around the world. You know, they're not buying that. So I think it's a time for accountability. It's a time to look at where we fail and put a plaster on it, because no one is gonna have any sympathy. I also wanted to bring up something that I found a few months ago, and it's with regards to Nigerian mental health. And this is why This is also why, all these type of topics start orbiting around my mind. Right, this article, I'm not going to go through it. I'm just going to bring up the charts. And again, it can be subjective. You might ask, how do they work this out? But this article says there's a Nigerian mental health crisis. Okay. And basically, it's saying that there are a lot of mental health issues in the Nigerian society, but there's very few therapists to aid the population. Nigeria is grappling with a staggering mental health crisis as millions of its citizens suffer from various mental disorders. The WHO estimates that a whopping 20% of Nigerians, or around 40 million people, are affected by mental health illness. Now, look, you can scrutinize. I don't mind you scrutinizing stats and all of these. That's good. You should question these things. But as someone of this descent, I fully agree. And I think many other Africans, especially those who were raised in the West and have a slightly different mentality, can see the flaws of their community that might relate to bad mental health. A key one that I always talk about is spanking kids, beating the crap out of kids. That, look. And the sad thing is that a lot of kids grew up to think that, yeah, it was, I needed that spanking. There was no other way. I couldn't be spoken to. I needed to be beat. And I'm not talking like a little slap or something. I'm talking about belts, weapons. For me, that is a mentally abusive person. Look, one second. I need to throw out this cat. 1 second. Hold up. Sorry about that. Bad form. Might have to cook this cat, like the Haitians in America. But look, let's look at these illustrations. 1 in 5 Nigerians are affected by mental health. 4.9 million Nigerians have anxiety disorders. 7 million Nigerians have depressive disorders. There are only, get this is what cracked me up, man. If this is true, there are only 200 psychiatrists and 1,000 psychiatric nurses to serve over 2 million people. Oh my God, that cracked me up because that illustrates how absurd, like, how can you, if it's true that so many people suffer with mental health issues, what can you do to fix it when there is no medical profession that is equipped to deal with the number? You know what I mean? Do you see what I'm getting at? So imagine your people are suffering with mental illness, but people are not recognizing it as mental illness. They're just looking at it as this is normal, right? And I think this can also go into things like autism and Asperger syndrome. The Senate of Truth speaks on that a bit. And he's spoken in the past about how people get underdiagnosed in the Black communities because it's like, I don't know, teachers just think, oh, no, that's how Femi acts. That's just normal behavior. When in actuality, he might be suffering with something like ADHD, but it's been underdiagnosed. And when you take him home, oh, it's normal. We just whip him with the belt, and then he gets back to normal. Do you see what I'm getting at? And I think this is true. I think a lot of people, a lot of Africans, in my humble opinion, are dealing with a lot of issues, but because of the economic situation, it's not prioritized. You know, when you're when you're not even getting being serviced with 24/7 electricity, Wi-Fi, the basics, why would you care about mental health? Why would you care about being depressed? You know. But again, speaking about the kids, and this is what really matters, and this is what really gets me because when I was going hard, when I was going in with content, I always came across younger people, even middle-aged people that just had this depressive state of mind. When I was trying to, and I've been there before, and this is why I feel like, or I felt like it's important for me to voice to voice the solution, so to speak, and especially as a martial artist as well, which is very key to my mentality and my change of perception of things in life. When I speak about these positive things, a lot of black people, a lot of black guys just have this negative, depressive, um, they call it black pilled mentality, where nah, it can't work. Nah, I'm ugly. Nah, I'm too short. Oh, it's because I'm black. Oh, it's over for me, bro. Just be white. And again, if you go see their parents, I'm pretty sure these parents, probably single parents or parents with certain disorders, or these kids got certain abuses that has rendered their mind to be that way. You know, I bet you. And I'm so happy that I've become a parent. I really am. And I know a lot of guys that might be subscribed to my channel are how can I say this in a PC way? I don't know. You might not believe in being parents, right? But I actually think that you guys, or many of you, have the awareness that will make you very good parents or very aware parents. And I'm happy that I'm a parent because while I won't be perfect, no one is. I have the foresight in regards to many things that could lead, my children astray. Sometimes I wonder how the hell did we make it? How the hell did we make it to this age alive and in good health? If if we grew up in this kind of traumatic uh, home, if we grew up with when we had to hang around on the street at age 10, man, I mean, yeah, it is quite deep, but this is why I come out to talk about these topics, man. And again, in the case of Damilola Taylor, a lot of scrutiny, of course, will be held towards the killers. Um, these are bad people, these are bad mind people, these are demonic people. But what do you think? How do you think these people were raised? What do you think their parents were like? Even the killers who are listed were raised by single parents, and so you see the result of bad parenting, you're gonna either be the killer or the killed. You're gonna be the bully or the bullied. You're gonna be a very extreme person. Now when I say a lot of this stuff, there'll be pushback like, oh, are you saying black people are innately violent? No, I'm saying that if you don't query the cultural norms, If you like back in the day, remember years ago when I was doing this properly, carnival, every year I would always scrutinize carnival. And even with that, I would get pushback. Some of you were telling me, oh, it's cultural, it's just play, it's not serious. Well, little kids are watching grown kids whine and do sexual stuff in the streets, thinking that this is normal. How do you think that's going to affect them as they grow up? You know, if you can't query the culture, the ills, the bad things in the culture, what what are we doing? What's going on? You're part of the problem. You can't complain about quote unquote Keisha when you are down with simulated sex on the streets in front of kids, in front of the whole world to see. You know, Nigerian culture, especially African culture in general, there is a culture of you never questioning your elders. And this has always been something that's been great in me. Especially, I remember when I was young, right? Some relatives from Nigeria will come over, and the way they expect you to greet them was to basically go on the floor and kowtow, like you're putting yourself in a submissive position. I would never do it because it's strange to me, man. I'm not gonna bow like that to a human being. You know, when I wouldn't do it, I'll get a slap, I'll get a beat, I'll get a scolding, but I still wouldn't do it. You know, these things are abusive. You know, a culture where you can't critique your parents, you can't. That means you can't have a conversation on a certain level with your parents. Probably even many of us adults, we can't. There is a certain topic we can't discuss with our parents because it's either just too deep, or might paint the parent in a bad light. You can't have that. So you're not really going to have a full relationship with your parent. Parents are always right. Honor your parents. Some Christian quotes are used out of context. Honor your parents, even if they're abusive. Honor them. It creates this prism of abuse. And I hate to ramble, but this is just one of those type of streams, I'm afraid. I see Jimmy Mapassa in the building, says, hey, bro, this message is so important. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Eli Wananda says, I find that we have a massive blind spot about mental health. Absolutely. 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 I think especially, again, I'm stereotyping, but I think the Nigerian culture in general is quite extroverted, meaning that a lot of dancing, music, singing, entertainment is expected. Like many things are dancing, and that's almost a way to. It's almost a way of dealing with mental health issues. Going to church. It's not like the Church of England style. It's like you're dancing, you're singing, you're going into a trance. So it's almost like if you're a child of an African and you say, "Oh, I'm depressed," or have mental health issues, you won't even be taken seriously. Senate of Truth says black people don't want to take accountability of the issues. Eddie says, bro, this stuff is so important. We have traumas, neglect in our very bodies and minds, which basically control our behavior and thinking. Spot on, absolutely. And this is my point in general, you know. And I think people who are brave enough to query these topics, kudos to you for having that level of awareness. Because if you do have that bravery, you're going to have quite a few enemies. You're going to have people that don't like what you're saying because you're going against the status quo. There was a good quote that I was looking for the other day that said, if the general population, I'm paraphrasing, if the general population agrees with you, then you are doing something wrong, you know. But yeah, I'm just all about exposing. Again, I've lived almost coming up to 4 decades, so I know what I'm talking about. And I think you can't live for a certain amount of time and not want to improve or fix certain issues that just end up with people getting slayed, end up with people getting unalived, end up with people who stay alive but end up in a mental trance, like a disability where they just they can't overcome, you know. But yeah, the killers are also, I'm pretty sure, it's going to be subject to bad parenting. There was many months ago, someone who killed someone on the bus on the way to school. I bet you their parents. I'm trying to remember. I think the mother came out and said there was some issues. Again, it was a single mother, single parent. Whether you're the killer or you've been killed, usually it's your parenting that's messed up. You don't have the safety, you don't have the guidance. You know, I think going forward, and this is just my opinion off rip, I would say to people who listen to the stream or just the people in general, don't have kids if you haven't discussed or overcame any sort of childhood trauma, you know. And many times we know if we've been traumatized because there is some sort of anxiety, many people who are timid and super shy, nervous. It's probably because their nervous system has been, they've just been alarmed that when they were growing up. This is the result of being beat, not having that safety. You have this, many people that talk about, oh, I'd rather just pump and dump. I don't want to have a relationship. I don't trust anyone. That's usually down to abandonment. It's important to seek some therapy because it really illustrates, it really tries to go into childhood because this is where all of this starts. Don't have kids if you don't have a stable career, if the income is not reliable. Obviously, don't have kids if you don't have a stable living situation. That could be your home, your house, or even visa. I guess in the case of some immigrants, you don't know if you're going to be here. You might be an illegal. You might be on Trump's list to kick you out. Then don't have kids because you're going to bring them up in a messed up situation. Don't have kids if you're not gonna be. You don't want to be in a stable relationship. If you have glaring trust issues, man, I hear some people say, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to be a single father. I'm going to have a what's it called, where someone basically gives birth to your kid. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to raise my kid by myself." Like, I just think, are you? That's just ridiculous. You're going to raise a kid without a mother. When if you have children, you will know how that kid needs the mother, especially in the first year. It's so important. Yeah, Rockstar, surrogate. That's what I was trying to say. A surrogate. and just be a single father. Look, man, if that's what you want to do, just how about not being a parent? Not everyone needs to be a parent, man. And that's this is the point. Selfish reasons of being parent. I'll have a surrogate, and no, just don't be a parent. Don't aim to be a single parent, whether that's a single father or a single mother. Don't do that. Your kids will be unbalanced and unhappy. You know, don't be a parent if you have poor mental health. If you feel depressed, if you're gloomy all the time, if don't bring kids into that realm. You know, and hey, don't don't be a parent if you don't like kids. I think that's standard. If you don't like kids, don't be a parent. I don't understand. This is when I go back. I remember some kids, some friends when I was kids, the way their parents would beat them. Like slavery beatings, lying up against the wall, one leg off the ground or something, go and pick your twig off the branch outside, beat like a slave. I was just thinking, like, why? What? And it's not surprising. Many of these kids grow up, they've run away from home, or they come to, the West and they never go back to Africa. I don't blame them. But Ellie Wananda, man, he came through with a £5 super chat. I hope you guys are subscribed to Ellie's channel. Ellie's channel is, in my opinion, the best channel that analyzes Black British as a demographic and issues pertaining to the demographic. Like, no one can do it like Ellie. So I really want everyone who subscribed to me to follow Ellie Wananda's channel. Really great channel, great information. I really appreciate his work. He says, "Keep up the good work, bro." I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you. I really do appreciate that. Let me give you the jingle, man. Super chat. When it comes to content, yeah, I've really been all over the place. Haven't been consistent. I've kind of been, just do my own thing. But these topics are important, and I think as well for the people that are kind of left in the lurch, I also want to do it for them to have a place to just discuss these issues. I don't care how small the group is. I don't care about the profits. I think having the space is far more important. Really is. F-Brain Makwev, good to see you in the building. Salute to you. Long time subscriber, good to see you in the building. Senator of Truth says, I know a woman who's 38 who wants to be a surrogate because she can't find a man to have a family. This is what I'm talking about. These selfish desires. You want to bring a kid into the world, but you don't want them to be... I've always said it. Single parents are a crime against humanity. Because the kids of single parents have so much angst and imbalances mentally. And again, these often become the criminals, or these people repeat the cycle. This is another facet of Nigerian parenting. Many parents will tell you straight up, look, I gave birth to you so you can look after me. I gave birth to you. They effectively gave birth to slaves. You're supposed to serve me. And this is how it pans out for many of us, right? Again, a big topic, generational wealth. Many of us, when our parents have to go on, when their parents have to leave this world, we're going to have to foot the bill for their funerals. Now, you might hear that and think, hey, that's standard, man. Don't you have a heart? Don't you care? But listen, if I pass away, I don't want to put a burden of a funeral onto children. It's not their fault. They don't have. Why should they foot the bill? I'm supposed to have worked and accrued, saved a certain amount where I can provide for my own expenses. For me, that's just common sense. That's common courtesy. But for many Nigerians, saying this is like speaking another language. Like what? What you don't know what? And this is when we go back to the mental health issues, because this is, for me, it's just narcissism. You don't even understand the burdens that you're placing on your children. And there's so many people who just accept it. That no, oh no, I accept it. My mom gave birth to me, and she did all this for me. Cool, but that's what they are supposed to do as parents. You didn't sign a contract to say, yeah, bring me into this world. Your parents selfishly bent over some woman under the mango tree and gave birth to you, just like, just like that. And now, here they come. Look, you have to provide for me. No, it's the other way around. Look, I'm just warming up. I know the stream. I hate to be ranting. I really want also to involve the audience and stuff like that. I don't want to just be sitting there, especially with an avatar. I want to be on camera, but I just need to warm up. But this is the base of my passion for talking about this. It has to be discussed. It has to be discussed. Feed Me Less Zone says, "Hey Falcon, I am Jamaican, but I took a test and it says I'm 2.9% Nigerian. My parents are the same." Hey, well, we share some DNA, because I took the test some years ago and I'm like, what was it, 95% Nigerian? And I was quite proud of that, to be honest. And that's another thing. I made the video about my DNA and I was happy with the results. And I voiced my content in a video, but there were people who were offended by that, because it was like they thought I was saying, because I probably said something like, "Oh, okay, it confirms that I have no European genetics," which which is a good sign for me, because it means that most likely I don't have past crimes of humanity in my bloodline, which I'm happy for. But they took offense and meaning, "Oh, what you saying that is it a bad thing that I have some European descent in my blood?" No, that's not what I'm saying, man. I'm just saying I'm proud of who I am. It's like you can't win. You can't win. Oh, you hate yourself. Okay. No, I actually love myself. Oh, no. And this is, again, it goes into a bigger question about what is quote unquote black. And we used to make live streams talking about this stuff. Shout out to Diego Ife. He made a book. He used to go deep on he had a phrase that he used, and I think going forward, those are the questions that need to be raised. Because this whole blanket term black is very inaccurate. Very inaccurate. Feed Me Less Zone says, "I'm proud of it too. I actually tell women and new people I'm Nigerian, because technically I am, even though I'm Jamaican." Yeah. Hey, salute to you. Salute to you. But yeah, the point of this stream is I just want us to have better mental health. I want us to have better dispositions, and I think it starts with the parents. It starts with us parents. That's where it begins. Otherwise, this negative cycle, repeated issues, we won't escape it. There's always, look, Damilola Taylor happened 25 years ago. Yet today, I'm pretty sure there's been a similar sort of incidents that's happened. A quarter of a century, and it's still pretty much the same thing, if not worse. And I think no one can no longer accept the excuse that, oh, it's racism, it's institutional racism. We all in the hood. We all no. You chose to come here. You know, you chose to come here, but you didn't have a plan. That's another thing. It's like an infantile mentality, always blaming someone when you are supposed to be responsible. You know, but I digress. I just needed to get this off my chest because it's been pressing on my mind. And you know, when something's on my mind, I just post it in the community chat. But I need to start making proper content. And yeah, going forward, Sunday for about 10 o'clock, I want to be hosting proper content about similar topics. My normal videos will be typically based on, stuff pertaining to self-refinement, self-improvement, health, fitness, stuff like that. But I want to dedicate a day in a week where we can just kind of discuss these type of topics, even if it's just on the chat. I usually have a panel up. I'm still kind of thinking about that. I mean, press one in the chat if you would like to see a panel in the future, where people can just click a link, come on and talk about the topic that was discussed. Press a one to see if you enjoy that and if you want to see that going forward. But yeah, I think I've said everything that I need to say. I think black kids will continue to not be safe when they are not provided with the security at home. And I agree, no dad, no defense. If you're growing up in single parent households, especially single mother households, the kids are very vulnerable. And again, when these kids grow up and then try to look for relationships, it's going to be hard for them because of potential abuses that's happened in the past. Many people as well that have relationship issues, there's been instances of abuse in the past. Some grimy family friend can get in there. Remember, there was a what's his name? Topical Juice. Salute to him. He spoke about his issues, and that is always someone who is inside of the family, inside of the circle, and that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. You can't be vulnerable. You kind of want to escape situations, or you seek escapism generally. You have vices, and then you're depressed, and mentally you just can't operate, you can't function at the level you should, especially in a very competitive country like the UK or a city like London. You need to be on top of your game, world class service delivery, but you can't if you're depressed. You can barely go outside. You're socially anxious. You can't progress in life. It's tough. It's going to be hard. Yeah, topical juice was, even though it's hard to hear, it's still raw facts. Feed Me Less Zone says moving out with 15k saved is good to escape this. Um, Generally, yes, but I think it also depends on your cash flow as well, like your career, how you can maintain your living standard, where you're going to live. And again, these are great topics that I've discussed in the past, but we need to go back into like cost of living, renting or buying homes. In general, though, I think where possible, it's always a good idea to move out when you feel like you're ready to, because what's most important, in my opinion, and from my experience, is the experience of living a life uh, to your uh, to your will, to how you want it, and also experiencing the cost of living, paying your own bills. That is what will turn a boy into a man. You know, when you're living with parents, you don't have the same responsibilities. And it's so easy. That's why we've got a lot of guys in their 30s and women too, who just have this infantile psychology because they're not used or experienced in the real world. So, in my opinion, I think moving out is essential. And you know what? Even if you end up being kind of broke or living month to month, I know it's harsh or it's probably risky for some, but that is the drive that will might actually uh, fill your mind with ideas to overcome it. You know, that is what we need in life. Sometimes we need hardship to improve it. But if you're in the comfort of your mum's house, she's cooking for you. Oh, come downstairs, the food's ready. You're not really equipping yourself to deal with life as an adult, in my opinion. And of course, not all situations, not every one fits this bill, but in my experience, it helped me massively. You know, it helped me to be a minimalist, to appreciate what I have, to focus, to plan ahead, to change careers. You know, when something wasn't working, change careers. That's a big thing as well, changing careers. You know, when I used to discuss that, many people just, again, the self-defeatist mentality, don't believe in that. They don't think it's possible that you can focus, partition time in the day to study and change your career. You know, what you studied at age 18 is not going to be the thing that you have to do for the rest of your life. But again, the root of that happening starts with what's in your mind and your belief in yourself and your ability. And this again is where martial arts has been very important, because when you train, like you literally have to, you literally are putting these things into practice when you train, combating hardships, finding solutions, pathways, strategies. That's a very good question. And actually, that reminded me, I wanted to do a different type of live stream. I have an idea that I think will be very interesting for a future type of live stream. It's not like this style, but it's kind of in line with what you said. So I'm going to roll that out soon in the future. Um, let's see what you're saying in the chat. You know, it's really good to see a lot of you in the chat, man. It's been a while. And I realized that when I actually do make content, I actually quite enjoy it. Um, let's see. Feed Me Less Zone says living with parents doesn't help with relationships too. I think it depends, but generally, I think it won't, you know, because firstly, the comfort, you, this is one of the things that I remember documenting a very old video. moving out, just simple things like having the ability to go to the toilet, do a dump with the door open. That is funny, but that type of freedom you won't have when you live in someone else's home. And the thing about your parents' home is that your parents will always be your parents and they still see you as their children. So even though you're a grown man, you're over 30, they still, because of that age gap, that difference, it still remains the same, right? So they still see you as that kid. So they're not helping you in growing, but it's not their responsibility anymore to turn you into an adult. If you get what I mean. But yeah, generally, for me anyway, relationships when you're living in parents' homes is going to be kind of hard. Might be a bit disrespected. There might be some hatering from siblings or even your own parents. Yeah, it's not a suitable situation in my opinion. JP in the building, salute to you, says, how do you feel about moving far away from family versus staying close? That's a good question. I think from my experience, it depends on how close you are to your family. If you grew up in a somewhat dysfunctional home, I don't know, step parents that you didn't like or didn't get like you, I think going far away from your family will help the distance will help to kind of mend relations, right? And that's another thing of moving out is that you give people space and time to recollect. And often that will mean they will have a newfound respect for you that, oh, you're independent, you're doing things your own way, and you get a lot of power as well. Like you set the pace. Like if you want me involved in this, you need to meet me like this. You can't. It's like there's just a great level of respect, and I think staying close could still be a bit too comfortable. Like if you're just down the road, it's easy to pop by. If you're struggling financially in a month, you might just go to your parents' house, get a meal there. And one funny thing you might notice, especially when you just moved out, I moved out when I was about, I think, 23, is that when you go back to your family home, you see that the fridge is all full of stuff, all these cakes and stuff that you won't normally buy if you're into fitness and stuff like that. And you just realize that, yeah, this place just make you soft. It won't make you as sharp as you need to be. But that's just my opinion. These are just my opinions. Eddie says, depends on where you're thinking of moving and if you're planning on purchasing a home. Yeah, absolutely. Eddie says, 15K is not covering a deposit in many places apart from the north. Yeah, that's true. Again, if you're going to rent or if you're going to buy, 15K won't cut it. Probably in most good destinations, in my opinion, in the country. But in my opinion, I think you should experience renting too. Some people say don't rent, stay at your mum's house and then just buy. I think in terms of life experience and in terms of the times that the years that go when you're saved in that situation, I think you lose a big chunk of life experience when you're in your parents' home, in my opinion. I think life to a large degree is about experiencing life, especially on your own terms. But again, to each their own. Everyone has their own way. My way is not the right way, but my way worked for me, most certainly. I remember living alone, waking up, doing sprints on a Sunday, like just living like a soldier. Like you can be very regiment with no disturbances, and there's often a very good clarity in your mind, peace. It's like an experience that people really need to have. And hey, you might fail, I don't know, you might not, you might be made redundant or something, you can't pay the rent, but hey, at least you tried. and at least you saw how it was. Living alone might not be for everyone, but you've experienced it, and you know you can weigh up pros and cons. You know, but hey, I've expressed my thoughts, and I hope it's been a decent live stream. So again, I want to partition Sundays around this time for these type of live streams. I'm gonna, present properly as well. This is just to warm up. I hope the audio is good as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, especially if you're just viewing this after it's been live. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did anything I say, did it hit a nerve, or did I make a good point? Again, I just want better for us as a group of people, as a demographic. And this is my main motivation for doing these type of videos. So I hope you appreciate it. And also, I remember back in the day, there was the Discord. I've created the Discord, but I'm going to open it up to members of the channel. Okay, so if you become a member, you can have access to the Discord, because again, I think the Discord is also a valuable space where people of a like mind could commune and address each other. I'll put more information in the community tab. It's not yet complete fully, but the skeleton is there. Okay. But yeah, it's going to be only members, because these things I think work best when they're kind of exclusive. It also motivates me, because sometimes, especially in the previous Discords, when some people are just of a certain mindset and it's very doom and gloom, I don't want to see that. So that's why I had to terminate previous Discords. But this time, look, if it's members, there might be a certain level of class. I'm up for that. But let me know what you guys think. But hey, it's Falcon Black back again, and I appreciate everyone in the building. I appreciate everyone who fired a super chat as well. I really appreciate you. You didn't have to, but you did. To KB the Millennial, Adrian Machines, Ellie Wananda. Really appreciate all of you, and everyone else who views, comments, subscribes, and likes the videos. Everyone who supports, I really appreciate you. But with that being said, I hope you have a good night and a good week ahead. Catch you in the next streams. Peace.